Hey y'all, it's Sarah, the wine-loving bookworm, back with another book and wine review. Happy 2020! It's the new year. Can you believe it's 2020? Like, it blows my mind that we're in another decade. But here we are. I know I've been kind of MIA for a while. I actually wasn't sure if I wanted to keep doing this. I don't know. I just was kind of wondering, having a little crisis, existential crisis, as you may, about whether this was worth it. Got some bad critics, and it gets in your head. But at the end of the day, I love doing this. I love reading, and I hope some people out there enjoy it. So I'm going to keep doing it. So yay or nay, I don't know, but I don't care. I like it, and I'm just going to keep doing it. So today, let's start with the wine. I got this one at Publix. It was a BOGO matchbook, and it's Petite Verdot, and I've never heard of a Petite Verdot, so I Googled it, and it's used in classic Bordeaux blends, which is a French wine, which I love French wines, so that already piqued my interest. It ripens later on in the season, so I guess it kind of fell out of favor using it in a lot of Bordeaux's, and they also used it in some Cabernet Sauvignons. But now it's being used as a standalone wine in the New World, they called it. I mean, really, is America still the New World? I guess. They actually didn't elaborate on that. They just called it the New World. So I'm assuming America. Let me see. It doesn't even say where this is from. I'm assuming California. But, gosh, it just says the Rolling Hills of Dunnigan, or the Dunnigan Rolling Hills. Okay, whatever. Let's assume if it's a New World wine, it's probably California. All right, so let's give it a shot. Cheers. Oh, wow. That is good. Let me give it one more shot. That is like a very French light red wine, which I love. So if you like, light French wines, definitely pick this up. Wow, that's good. Man, I might have to go back to Publix and get myself some more bottles of that. I did get the Petite Syrah, I believe. Is it Shiraz? Is there such thing as a Petite Shiraz? I think it's a Petite Syrah. That was the other one I got in the BOGO. I didn't quite like that one as much as this one. Although I'm not a Shiraz fan. Shazam. But I just gave it a shot. It was okay. This is delicious. All right, so moving on. I'm going to do things a little bit different in the very beginning here. I'm going to kind of give you guys a rundown of my top 6 2019 books. I wanted it to be 5, but I went on with 6, so I just couldn't narrow it down. I did read 51 books in 2019. I set a goal of myself to read 50 books every year. I've never hit it, and then last year I hit it, and I think it has a lot to do with doing this for you guys every week. So that's great. Yay. So my first book, Virgil Wander by Leif Enger. This was my book club book. I love this book. It was beautifully written, beautiful storyteller. Again, more character driven than plot driven. So if that's not your thing, you wouldn't like it. Lots of words in here. But beautiful book. I loved it. My second book was The Body Keeps Score by Basil van der Kolk. God, Kolk. I don't have the book because I read my mom's, but it was written by a doctor, and it's about the effect of traumatic experiences on your body. So like PTSD and how it affects you, different ways to combat it. Great book. It's obviously very scientific, but even if you're not like a science whiz, which I'm not, I could follow it very easily. Very good book. Under the Mesquite. Now this is one, let's see if you guys can see that. Such a glare, right? My husband tells me I should use editing software so I could just like put these up on the screen instead of doing this. And he's probably right? Okay, that's kind of what the cover looks like. Under the Mesquite by Guadalupe Garcia Mical. Great book. My son had to read it for school. It is like a giant poem. Let me see if I can show you like how it's written. You can't see that. What am I thinking? You can't even see it. This is ridiculous. Okay, so it looks like a great big poem. So it's not like prose, like written out. It's like poetry. I loved it. You could probably read it in a day. It's, geared to YA kind of readers. Obviously, he's 13. It was assigned at school. He doesn't read this crap on his own. But I just loved it. It's kind of sad. It's about a child, an immigrant Mexican child dealing with the sickness of her mother. But great book. It just touched me. It was a great book. My fourth book is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Again, I don't have that one, but that I did review it on my YouTube. That was kind of like a mystery love story all wrapped into one. It took place in I think like Louisiana swamps. Great, great book. And then Educated was probably my favorite book of the year. And I don't know why I'm showing you this because you can't even freaking see it, but it's a giant pencil. There, you can kind of see it right there. Educated by Tara Westover. Great book about a woman who, I said that like 3 times, but I can't say it enough. A woman who had a really troubled upbringing, and her parents were kind of big jerks. Their family was real weird, abusive. Her ability to break free from that and become a writer, because it's about her. It's about the author, about her life growing up. My favorite book of the year, I think, by far. And then my last favorite book, where is it? Here it is. Gone Too Long by Laurie Roy. She actually came to my book club. This was a book club book, and she came to it and spoke. She was just so inspiring, made me want to write a book, which, to get off topic a little bit here, I am doing a 12-week course about unlocking your creativity, and I'd really like to try to get back into writing. It's my first love. And so I'm doing that to try to unlock these blocks that we put on ourselves through work, through children, through relationships, through just day-to-day life, and try to, get in touch with that creative energy again. So it's what I'm doing right now. And I remember just watching her talk, and she was an accountant, and now she writes like books all the time. And I'm like, gosh, I could do that. So we'll see what happens. Just taking the first step by kind of reading this book and going through the motions of this course to unlock your creativity and get back in touch with that creative energy. Okay, so real quick, my 3 books that I would pass on that I was so disappointed in. First, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Nig. I don't know if it was just the hype surrounding this book or what. I couldn't get into it. I didn't like it. I just didn't. I guess I heard too much about it. Didn't like it. Second was The Institute by Stephen King. I see this on top books of 2019 lists all the time. Didn't like it. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. Didn't like it. I will say this was a little bit more cohesive and easier to follow than some of his recent books, but I just couldn't get into it. And last but not least, and again, I see this book on lots of top of 2019 book lists, The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. I'm not sure why I didn't like this book. I love The Handmaid's Tale, the book. I love the series. I actually think the series made me not like this book. Because I've watched The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu, I'm current on it, it's kind of the same thing. So maybe I felt like, how you read a book then watch a movie? I felt like I watched a movie then read a book. I didn't care for it. I mean, it was okay, but I just didn't care for it. So those are my 3 meh books of 2019. All right, so let's move on to the book I read just recently. And I'm going to show this to you like you can even see this. All right, why isn't it opening up? Hold on. Jeez. And I'm going through all this trouble when you can't see it anyway because there's a damn glare. Okay, Laurie Gottlieb, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. Gottlib. There's a big box of tissues on the front. It's blue and yellow. Okay, I need to stop reading books on Kindle or get that editing software. This book is fascinating. It's written by a therapist who went to therapy. So you get some of her own stories from her own patients. Names are changed. She got permission from her patients, so don't worry. But then you also get her experience being a patient in therapy. That's really cool to me, and it was really interesting. I think as a therapist, will a little bit analyze herself, but what you didn't realize about her analyzing herself was that she was actually doing what everybody else does, not really showing her own part she goes through a terrible breakup. I don't know if I said that, and that's why she goes to the therapist. But, saying what an awful guy he was, how terrible he was, without really analyzing her own role in the breakup, her own quirks, what she could have done differently. You always have a role to play in any relationship that you're in. And, having that ability of self-reflection and self-understanding, especially going through something traumatic, like you think you're going to marry this guy and he breaks up with you. It's hard. That's difficult. You want him to be the bad guy. You have to get that time and space between the relationship to really see clearly, like, wow, I dealt with this for so long, or these were all these warning signs, or wow, I needed to change this about myself, or, all these things. I've been through a terrible breakup. I've been through a divorce with a child. So I've gone through all those emotions and all those feelings. Seeing her as a therapist work all that out, there was some funny parts in it too, because she'd be sitting there talking, and the guy would say something, the therapist, or do something, and she'd go, oh, that's what I do when I think my patient's being a little self-pity or whining or whatever. Am I doing that? So she really had that extra level, being a therapist herself, of seeing what he's doing and then reanalyzing herself in her own words. It gets kind of confused there, because not only do you have the therapy, you have her being a therapist going to therapy. So she can see some of the stuff he's doing that she does, if that makes any sense at all. Very interesting, and very, even if you're a therapist, and even if you sit there and, you know a lot about psychology and the way the brain works and the way emotions work and how humans react, you're still a human at the end of the day. And when you go through something like that, you're going to react as a human would. So seeing that was, I guess, hopeful. And that everybody, no one's better. Everybody has these problems in their lives. Everybody goes through these things. So also therapy is good, able to talk to a third party, how do I want to say this? Like a third party that just indifferent, that doesn't really have any feelings about you one way or the other, can really be helpful. So don't think it's embarrassing. Don't think, your problems are too insignificant. Therapy can really help. Okay, last but not least, the book for next week. I'm going to be reading Washington Black. I'm already about 150 pages in. It's my book club book, and I'll be going on Thursday, so we'll see what they have to say about it. My mom read it already. She hated it. I'm 150 pages in, and I love it. So we sometimes do not see eye to eye on books. So we'll see how it goes through the rest of the book. But right now, I really love it. And it is by S.I. Edugayan. I'll just show that to you guys because, man, I'm probably slaughtering that name. All right. So that's it for me. I went a little long today, but I am happy to be back, and I'm happy to continue to do this for you guys and really for myself because I love doing it. Let's have another sip of this fabulous wine, Petite Verdot. Oh, yeah. That's good. Let me show you the bottle again. Match Box Petite Verdot. Get it at Publix for the next couple days, BOGO. And pick up Maybe You Should Talk to Somebody by Laurie Gottlieb. Really great book. Even if you're not in therapy, if you're thinking about therapy, if you are in therapy, wherever you are in your life, I think you'll enjoy the book. It has a lot of great insights. Okay, guys, I will see you next week. Have a great week. Cheers.